What's up, levelers? Welcome back to another episode of High Level Chronicles, where we dive deep into the intersection of video games, cannabis, and all things entertainment. I'm your host, Chris, and with me, as always, my main man, Paul. What's up, bro? How's it been going? What you been up to lately?
Just looking through my library of games and taking a little bit here and there. But there's a game that I've really been enjoying mobilely right now. It's called Dune Imperium. It's modeled after the Dune movie series, and it's trying to build a deck of cards, move workers around this board, and beat these guys that I know. So some friends having some good time with that, and I'm enjoying some edibles right now. Some mixed berry ones that are just delightful.
You know what I'm smoking? I think it's LA Perp. It's an indica. But anyway, I tell you, man, I am excited for today's episode. Really got a cool topic, I think, lined up that I think everyone's going to kind of vibe with. Today, we're going to explore the connection between cannabis and music. We'll discuss how cannabis has influenced various music genres, inspired musical creativity, and just shaped the overall, cultural landscape. But before we dive deep into that harmonious connection between cannabis and music, let's kick things off with our Leveled Up segment. Levelers, you know the drill. Hit us up on our website, highlevelchronicles.com, or slide into our DMs. Yeah, you can slide into our DMs at HLC Podcast 420 on all your favorite socials. Let us know what you've been leveling up on this week. What games have you been crushing? What strains have you been puffing? Or any fire playlists or concerts you've been vibing to? Drop those comments. Let's get this party started. Paul, you want to kick things off on what some of the levelers are saying out there this week?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a few levelers today. We have Michael F. said, "What's up, fellas? It's been all about The Last of Us Part 2. I know I'm late to the party, but storytelling and emotional depth in that game are just incredible, and I've been pairing it with some super lemon haze, which really enhances the immersive experience."
Nice.
So that yeah,
I love
that
Last
sounds
of
good.
Us. I love everything The Last of Us. The show's excellent. The game is still one of my favorite all-time games. Just everything about it.
Yeah. One of the, in terms of quality of both quality TV and quality game. We have at Juicy G77. He says, "Hey guys, I picked up a new strain called Purple Passion, and I've been diving back into The Witcher 3. Love it. Let me tell you, exploring
right up Paul's alley.
Yep, exploring Skellige while high is a next level experience." I can only imagine that. I Skellige is like a pirate area model after like the Norse mythology. That'd be really fun. And then at last we have Jacob T. He said he's been indulging in some Blue Dream, one of my all-time favorite strains. It's a fantastic daytime smoke that keeps me focused and creative. And on the gaming front, thanks to last week's episode, I've been replaying Spyro the Dragon Trilogy.
Nice. Some great choices.
Quite a nostalgic one.
I'll tell you, I've been smoking on, it's I think it's called LA Purple now for a couple weeks now. It's got a nice balance of, relaxation if you were, yeah. As for games, man, I've been kicking ass on COD, and I actually started playing a new game that I think it just came out in the last month or so. It's X Defiant from Ubisoft. So it's got all the Far Cry characters. It's just an online, just like Call of Duty Warzone, pretty much. But it's pretty cool. Came out recently.
Yeah.
What else? Shit. Oh, man.
No,
pretty
Catan,
chill.
Catan brings me back.
Yeah. All right. You know what? Let's kick it into our main topic for today. Cannabis and music, inspiring creativity. So, Paul, let's kick things off by talking about the historical connection between cannabis and music. I think cannabis has been influencing music for decades now. I think everybody can agree to that. From jazz in the early 20th century to psychedelic rock of the 60s and the hip-hop scene of today. What do you think? Fair statement?
Yeah, absolutely. When something, the way I like to think about music and cannabis is, it's like you remember a kaleidoscope? You look through it, and it has all the different colors and shapes. I think it's like
The
that for your
geometric
ears.
shapes.
Yeah, a kaleidoscope for your ears. And for me, it not only for like a creative process, but the listening process. Um, it makes it really immersive for me. And when I think about the earliest ways that cannabis would have inspired a music genre, I think jazz would go to the first, and then as rock and roll started to become more and more mainstream, there's a whole subset of rock
Oh
that
yeah.
is probably dedicated to cannabis and some of their followers, and then going into hip hop and rap.
Psychedelics. I mean, you can mix in psychedelics. Like you said, looking through a kaleidoscope is geometric shapes, which if you do psychedelics, everybody kind of says you see geometric patterns and shapes, which is why music enhances those experiences. Hence today's topics. Like you said, I think it's really interesting to see how cannabis is intertwined with music over the years. Take, like you said, jazz, for instance. Legends like Louis Armstrong and Duke Ellington, they were known to enjoy cannabis. They believed it helped them relax and helped them improvise more freely, which was a cornerstone, in jazz music. And then you move into the 60s with the whole counterculture movement, psychedelic rock bands like the Beatles, Pink Floyd, the Grateful Dead. They use cannabis and other substances, to explore new realms of creativity, and their music reflected these experiences and shaped, that whole cultural landscape of the era.
Yeah, Bob Marley, Jimi Hendrix, Led Zeppelin.
Oh, you can't forget about reggae. Come on.
Yeah.
Bob Marley. I mean, you really want you want to talk about Bob Marley? I mean, he used cannabis.
Did he?
I mean, he used cannabis. He used cannabis as a spiritual tool, which heavily influenced, their music, the genre as a whole. But Bob Marley, he's practically the face of cannabis culture, right?
Absolutely,
That's another statement. I mean, his music and message were heavily, deeply influenced by his use of the ganja, which is considered the spiritual practice to him. He used cannabis as a spiritual tool, a source of inspiration for his songs. It wasn't just a recreational substance to him. It was a way to connect with something greater and inspire meaningful lyrics and rhythms.
Right. A spiritual tool.
Who doesn't enjoy listening to Bob Marley?
Yeah, absolutely.
Turn us off if you don't.
Something tells me there's a good overlap.
Probably not the right podcast to listen to if you don't like Bob Marley. I mean, you can not like, but you have to respect it. You know what I mean? You can not like certain music genres, but you have to respect what he's done and his image now.
Some Saturday mornings, I will turn on like a Bob Marley Spotify or something, and just to start my day that way, and it's so relaxing. You start slow, and you're just vibing out.
Absolutely. I actually put it on. By the pool a lot. Put on Bob Marley station on Sirius, or if you have the Sirius app, there's you can have extra stations that they have, and there's some like other Bob Marley like remix stations. It's a really good one, especially by a pool. You know what I mean? When you're vibing out by the pool, and with our pool, we have those deck jets. You know what I'm talking about? Like they shoot up jet? Like an arch. They shoot up like arches of water into the pool. That's what we put those in our pool when we had it built. When you get that going, that background with some Bob Marley, dude, it's like it puts you in that whole headspace.
I love it. Yeah, I can only imagine. That sounds just sublime.
Another great band.
Yeah, and
another great influence in the cannabis scene.
Absolutely.
Smoke 2 joints.
In the morning, and then smoke 2 joints at night.
Smoke 2 joints, and then I smoke 2 more.
And then I
come on, man.
Yeah.
Did you mean to segue into that? I got to ask, was that planned? Did you mean to segue into that? Did we segue into Sublime that?
But I'm so glad that I did. That was a complete, because I said it and I was like, hold up. But not only cannabis influencing their music, but them influencing the cannabis scene.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure. They were the same time, the cannabis became a big part of the hip hop scene too. Artists like Snoop Dogg, Cypress Hill, Dr. Dre, They rapped about their love for cannabis. It became a central theme in their music, especially Snoop. To this day, Snoop, they portrayed it as a symbol of relaxation, rebellion, and creativity. You know what I mean?
Sorry, I might have edited this out. There's people hammering below me for some reason.
I was like, are
what
you,
is
you
that?
sitting there
Yeah.
beating off behind the
No,
desk? What are you
absolutely
doing there,
not.
Paul, with your hand?
All right. Hopefully
Hey,
that was all right. Sorry about
we're
that.
leaving that in. No, we're leaving that in. We're going to let the listeners decide what you were doing. You all heard it. I heard it too. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
There's a time in college where I was starting to get used to smoking, and I maybe indulged a little too much. Had a full body high in bed.
Who would do that? Who would accidentally indulge too much?
Yeah, a college kid.
We've all been there, right?
Yeah, and I was able to grab my, at the time, iPod and just started vibing out to some of the most, like, relaxing songs on my list, to the point that like it was like a connection I feel like I was making at the time. And it was just an incredible sensation of, like, not really feeling a lot of your body, but having this music just be beamed into your head. And it was like a journey there. It wasn't, a psychedelic, a mushroom trip, but it was the closest I think I've gotten on cannabis was with music.
Definitely sounds familiar. I've been out in the country before. I was in Ohio for a couple of years in my teenage years, and we went out, and camped in a field. Nobody's around. Back then, nobody cared what you were doing. As long as we weren't tearing shit up. And
Right.
somebody turned on some music, and we smoked some weed. I'm telling you, this shit was brown. I don't even know what it was. I mean, we didn't know back then. You know what I mean? It didn't have all these strains and all this shit. It was weed.
Right.
You got
Yeah.
weed. It was whoever you got it from, whether it had whatever, just picked out the stems and seeds and call it a day. It had a lot of seeds back then. Let me tell you. But turned on some music, man. And I just remember I remember like an out of body experience, almost like floating above everything, just vibing to the music. Sort of like you see in some video games nowadays. If you play Overwatch, I told you I was going to play Overwatch a little bit more. I did. The Lucio, which is a healer in Overwatch, he runs around skates. They have different images you can use of him and stuff. And one of them is like him floating around with like psychedelic style lights around him. And it's nowadays that's what I pictured when I saw that. I was like, it took me back to that. Listen to music and just having that memory.
Yeah, music can really transport you.
For sure. And we talked about 80s and 90s, but fast forward to today, and it's still, cannabis is very much part of the music scene in hip hop and rap and R&B. Even my wife listens to a lot of R&B, and I hear it all the time, dude, filled with cannabis references and stuff. But artists like Chris Brown, Snoop Dogg, Wiz, Rihanna, I mean, they've built entire brands around cannabis, literally. And it's not just about getting high to them. Many artists talk about how it helps them write the lyrics and compose music, even helps them perform live, because a lot of artists don't show it, dude, but a lot of artists have performance anxiety. They get nervous before they go and they say in front of all these people, they, even though we love their music, we're not ever, we were there to support them. They all have that anxiety, and cannabis helps them, take them down a notch. Especially, like Wiz. Hey, I'm from Pittsburgh, so I'll talk about Wiz all day. I still want Wiz on this show. That would be the highlight of my life. Wiz Khalifa.
Hey, man.
Anybody has a hookup. I've been to his house, and we've been to his house, and like.
Did he know you were at his house?
No, we just knew where he lived. It was after our concert. We were staying in the area. We happened to literally. It was funny. We were at a concert for Drake. This is when Drake first came out, right? It was me and Wiz. He performed in Pittsburgh. Wiz came out, of course, saying "Black and Yellow." That was his hit. It's
Right.
Yeah. And he even said something along the lines at that event, like after party at my crib. We're going to be, whatever. And it was like we were at a hotel, and I looked it up. I was like, I wonder where he actually lives. If there's an actual ad, and it was literally half a mile from us where we were staying. Wow. And we didn't go over that night, but the next morning we just drove by to see his house and see where there was. And he had there was a bunch of I'm assuming bodyguards walking around the property. So it's legit. But
no, yeah, I went to a Wiz concert. He came to my college once when I was at Towson.
Nice.
And yeah, he is
nice.
It was quite the performance.
Dude, he's a vibe. He's a
Yeah.
vibe, man. It's himself, just him. And people talk shit about him because he smokes and like he's always fucking high, right? I mean, we whiz up, but dude, he is one of the best fathers that you'll hear about, in the music and like taking care of his children and everything. He's all about them. So, whiz.
Yeah. And you were talking earlier about picking out the seeds and stems, and that just took me to Afro Man.
Afro Man. He performed at WVU. I remember one time years ago.
And that was like his whole bit was talking about a song about how he got high, and I don't know if you ever saw the addendum song or whatever he did to that, where he's like, ironically, I care about everything, and it's him. He's much older and talking about how marijuana sales are funding schools and community organizations, and he's like, actually, this is I'm actually a good person. Look at all these, things that marijuana that I've been preaching for how many years is actually becoming a societal good in some ways with tax revenue and such. So,
45, 2 zigzags.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
that's all we need.
All we need.
Yeah.
And it's not even, just limited to mainstream genres, electronic music, indie, even classical musicians have spoken about how cannabis, helps them connect more deeply with their work and help, explore like these new creative avenues. And, I think, what, levelers, send us a message on social media. Let us know what you think of cannabis and music together. We'll grab a couple of your comments, later towards, the end of the episode and we'll share them. But for now, I would say it's fascinating to see how cannabis not only inspired individual artists, but helped shape entire genres and movements. Speaking of which, let's dive deeper into how cannabis influences that creative process. For many musicians, I think cannabis helps reduce inhibitions and anxiety, like we talked about, especially like with performance anxiety. But it also, makes it easier, for them to experiment with new ideas. They get that relaxed feeling, if that's what they're smoking on, enhance their sensory perception, making music, sound richer, more immersive. Can lead to unique compositions, innovative soundscapes.
Yeah, it's I've seen an academic put it as a psychoacoustic enhancer. And so while someone is under the influence of cannabis and making a song, the way that they're hearing it is on a sort of different level than and obviously if you're listening to that song as a audience member, you're hearing it at like, I guess maybe the pitch or way it was supposed to be heard, if you're both on the same level there.
And whatever hertz it's supposed to be at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hertz or sound waves syncing up. But it's I mean, I think we could probably just sit here all day and list the ways that cannabis all the artists that used it and had to be part of their the genre, because it was that creative element that they I wouldn't say rely on.
Yeah,
but
I've read that some artists use cannabis to break through some creative blocks, when they get stuck or when you're stuck, little cannabis can shift your perspective, help you see things from a different angle. That can lead to those like, aha moments. You know what I'm saying? Like, aha, which I think is crucial. And it's not just about the technical aspects, it can also deepen the emotional connection to music. It can make lyrics more heartfelt, melodies more like expressive, resonating more with the listener. I think cannabis has, like I said before, with everything, it has a unique ability to heighten our sensory experiences, making the act of listening to music almost feel transcendent, like you said, especially if you take a large enough dose or smoke enough. You feel that like transcendent state of music that you were talking about. Every note, every rhythm, every lyric just seems to resonate on a deeper level. That's sort of how you felt that time.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, when I certainly had more than one experience with listening to the music on cannabis.
Well, of course.
Yeah. But it's a dark room, usually late at night, headphones on, and just trying to immerse yourself inside of something that you're only hearing. But it invokes images and and especially like a meaningful song that you're like, oh, like I really gotta listen to this to figure out what they're trying to say. It's an experience, and one that I most vividly remember. So many senses are hitting you at one time.
My music taste varies all the time. And I find myself sometimes, depending on how much I smoke or take as an edible, whatever it may be, however much I consume of those broccoli, how much broccoli I take. It has I go down rabbit holes of music, like completely different genres. Like the other night, dude, I literally sat and listened to the entire Bone Thugs and Harmony Eternal 1999 album. And it just took me down a trip down memory lane of I used to smoke back in the day. I was, at the point in time I quit for a few years. I think everybody knows my backstory if you've listened to any of the previous episodes. But when I used to smoke for a while, when I was younger, teenager, that's a vivid memories. Listen to that album, everything. So that's that they talk about cannabis in it.
Yeah, there was I don't remember the sound, like how to explain it, but there was a sound that would be played on this mixtape, and I don't know if it was to signify like a DJ, like their key or whatever, of how they've mixed the song. But we would be in a car passing a blunt, and then the next song would come on, and then it would just like have this like kind of like type of noise, and and it had nothing to do with the song. It was just like, hey, this DJ, this is my little like stamp on this to let you know this is mine. And
A mixtape.
And that, well, yeah, I don't know if it was like a specific like CD or a mix or something, but that I've heard that key so many times that, and I've always been smoky with that. I could just hear that, and it like takes me back to 2012, 2011, something, like, with college buds.
Yeah, I think we know for a fact from numerous stories, stepping away from the cannabis side a little bit, stories from people on shrooms that you can see the music waves.
Yeah.
So if you hear people that say, well, cannabis, like you said, can get you almost to that state. It's never going to be the same experience if you've ever done shrooms and listened to music, or then done cannabis and listened to music. Not at all going to be the same experience. But those experiences are what brought, music together on a lot of sense, or a lot of sorts. Cannabis and music events, or psychedelics and music events, they're very popular. From old school stuff like Woodstock, right? The festivals of Woodstock, to the modern day, Coachella. I mean, I think that's like the modern day
and Burning Man.
Burning Man, Burning Man's not really a concert. It's more, they have concerts, but not like mainstream artists singing, right?
Oh,
Because I was in Reno,
true.
we were there, but Coachella, I would say, is more of a modern day, or Bonnaroo or something like that. But the combination of live music and cannabis or other substance, they create a unique atmosphere, right? I mean, today we see legalization movements often accompanied by music festivals and concerts, in states that are doing that. So it's a sense of community with music and a shared experience. I mean, have you been to any of those big events like that? Whether it be Coachella or some of those electronic ones they have, like Wonderworld and things like that.
Yeah, not a lot, but my one time for my bachelor party, my guys, I gave them a list of cities that I'd like to go to, and then I had some friends like set it up, kind of a surprise for me, and they're like, "Well, we're gonna go to Austin, Texas," and I was like, "That's awesome. That's great. They for great things." It's like, and we're going to Austin city limits, and that was
Nice.
That was an experience. All my best friends, and then they set it up, um and just I saw Childish Gambino, Judah and the
Nice.
Lion, Billie Eilish was there too, like before she was really big. But it was drug use that was there. We met like there's some kids that go to University of Texas and they're like, oh, you want to smoke with us? And we're like, absolutely. And we're just in the middle of this field. There's tons of people around, and we're just had this little clearing, and we're just passing this thing around, and then watching Childish Gambino just bring the house down.
Yeah.
But what about you? Any Bonnaroo or Coachella in your past?
No, never any of the big festivals like that. I was the one. We actually, wife and I were talking about going to Burning Man one year when we lived in Reno, because Burning Man from Reno was not even an hour, from us. So we had talked about going to it, but then we ended up moving to Maryland, so we never did. Those plans got nixed, but never been to any Coachellas. Thought about it. It's just I don't do the crowds anymore. But when I was younger, I think the biggest like outdoor type of concert type thing that I went to, the biggest times was when Jimmy Buffett had his Margaritaville outdoor events, and everybody just was there as a big party and doing everything. And I remember those pretty well. Margarita bowls or fish bowls filled with margaritas. Back then those were $10. At the concert. So nowadays that'd be $100.
Right.
you get something like that, but it was definitely never leveled up. I wasn't doing anything at those times, but definitely had some fun at events, and I've worked a lot of events as a paramedic and firefighter, but never attended any. Just like I said, I just don't do crowds anymore, especially nowadays. Not that big of a crowd, so I get too anxious. Like,
No, yeah, I hear you. I've been to a number of concerts, but the music festivals are really a different level of type of performer, and definitely the cannabis use. I mean, at Austin City Limits, it was everywhere. It's not legal in Texas, I think any level, but
right.
Austin's a little different.
Austin is its own scene. I've been to Austin.
Yeah.
I've been on, what's the avenue? Is it Fifth Avenue? Is that what it is?
I think yeah, Fifth or Sixth. I think is that big street that they have. That's a lot of fun.
Speaking of festivals, I actually missed out on going to one of the most historical festivals in history. I should have been attending, but
what was that?
I don't even remember exactly what happened why I didn't go, but it was Woodstock '99. Buddy had tickets.
Oh,
we were going to go.
God.
That's the year that shit hit the fan.
Did you see the documentary?
I'm glad we didn't. Yep. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I still get chills when Fred Durst comes out and is singing Break Stuff, and the crowd, you can just see the waves of people. And I just remember thinking, like, I could have been there for that, but did I really want to be there after knowing you know what I mean? The bathroom situation, the waters, all that. Probably not, because I'm diabetic. So that would have fucked me. I would have probably had some real bad issues, with something like that. So I had to change.
A lot of good stories, though.
I think I already had a beach trip planned or something. Like, we were going to go. Like, we always went to Myrtle Beach about that time of year, and so I think that was what it was. But yeah, that would have been legendary, though, to say that I was there.
I was only 9 years old at the time, so I didn't hear a lot about it until I think I heard it in passing, and then I was like, oh, like some shit happened here, and then I saw the documentary about it, and I was like, this is like wild, not like Fire Festival wild, but which is also
no, not that bad.
An amazing documentary, but yeah,
I gotta come out with a new Fire Festival.
They're trying to get.
They're talking about doing a new one. Yeah,
full.
Who's going to be dumb enough to buy anything?
People.
I won't. I mean, you hesitated there, man. You gonna buy some tickets to the Fire Fest too?
Absolutely not. But I will watch what happens with that, because it's so like that would kind of be wild if they just pull it off, but it's actually an amazing time and people go and it's everything they plan. But the guy seems like such a con artist. Like, I think he's just like, I don't know, can I get him again with the same line? instead of who's the rapper that they had?
Ja
Is
Rule.
that Ja Rule? Maybe now they get a good Drake and he can fuck it
Really,
up.
Drake? I don't think Drake
Whoever's
needs to show
more
his face anywhere. I think you know about the Drake beef, right? I think Kendrick
Kendrick,
Lamar is done burying Drake.
yeah.
I just saw a new clip today. Drake, I guess he's on concert or was doing a concert here recently, and his own DJ started playing the Kendrick diss while Drake was on stage in between songs.
Talking about
Letting
burning a
some music
bridge,
play.
damn, yeah.
Right? And you can see him looking up there, and he's like going like this, and they're just letting it roll. And everybody in the crowd's fucking going nuts singing it. All right. You know what? Let's hear from some of our listeners. We asked you guys earlier to share your thoughts on cannabis and music. Paul, are there any responses from social media? Do we have anybody saying anything? Is anybody even listening to these episodes?
We have a few. Yeah. Stoner Gamer 420 says listening to Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon while smoking a joint is an out of this world experience. It's like the music takes you on a journey, which I think is sort of what we were saying about, it takes us to a time, specific, just, the first notes of something. It's like, ooh.
Dude, you can take that, but wait, before you go on, to touch on that, take an eighth of shrooms and listen to that album. Then tell me your musical experience with that album. Do that.
Yeah. I'm
Stoner
sure.
Gamer 420.
At Music Junkie 668 writes, as a musician, I find that a bit of cannabis helps me relax or really get into the groove. When I'm jamming with my band, it's like it opens up a new level of creativity. And
commonly heard.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I don't know if you ever listened to NF. He's a rapper. Yeah, he has a song about feeling anxious and when he goes on stage and self-medicating with certain substances and stuff. Yeah, so it's even just kind of out there specifically, kind of on the nose. And then lastly, Marcus M says, I'm a DJ and I find that cannabis helps me get into the zone. I can mix better and feel the crowd's energy more.
I can reminisce on that because I was a DJ for years and years. And
there's got to be some good DJ stories.
Dude, I have stories. I mean, not just from DJ stories, but from president of motorcycle club stories. Yeah, Marcus, I feel you on that. I do. Yeah. The DJ stuff always touches home. I know the DJ life, whether it's club DJing or wedding DJing, I've done it all. So awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing.
I feel like I learn a new profession of yours every week.
That's back in the day, man. Yeah. So we're talking about music and cannabis. So I'll just tell you, so when I moved to Morgantown, West Virginia, from Charleston, West Virginia, I became a DJ. So let me tell you, I lived in this apartment complex in Morgantown. And if you're from Morgantown, you listen to this, you're going to know exactly where I'm talking about. I mean, it's going to be a dead giveaway. Inside that apartment complex, or not inside it, but that apartment complex was one address, and then the next door address was a strip club. And a big strip club at that. Morgantown's known for its strip clubs. And everybody knows I owned a strip club in Morgantown. Not this one, but this is what got me in the strip club business. Yeah. So anyway, I was staying I lived in this apartment and I was working as a car audio installer, right? I did car audio and stuff like that. And I was also a firefighter and EMT at the time, a volunteer firefighter and EMT. And I ended up, before getting a job in the EMS field, I got a side job in the evenings as a DJ at the local strip club because I lived right there. I literally walked out of my apartment, down a flight of steps, across the parking lot, and I was at the fucking strip club, the back door of it. So I became a DJ in that strip club, and a good friend of mine, well, he is a good friend now, Jeff Myers. I know you're listening, bro. Hey, shout out to you. He lives in Cumberland now. He was the guy that, was I think he started off, he was the DJ of the strip club to begin with. He gave me the job because he became the manager of the strip club. He got promoted to manager from the DJ, and it was called Legs in Morgantown at the time. And they had one in Cumberland as well. So it was like Legs 2 and something else. But so he taught me all the DJ skills. He was a club DJ before doing all this, managing a strip club and doing all this. And he was vinyl, mixer. Like he was old school DJ. And so he taught me everything. So I DJ'd that strip club in and out, learned every aspect of the business with him, through the ranks. And then I moved on and went to become a firefighter and paramedic. And then when I took on my government job, I traveled a lot of times, but I was able to be home. And that's when I bought a strip club because I was the president of a motorcycle club. So I bought one of the local strip clubs. The guy was leaving and ran it for a few years before we moved to Nevada. So I was all in the music with all that. So yeah, it was time. I have all kinds of stories, dude.
Wild.
Tons of stories. We can sit down. Like I'm telling you, bro, just come, I know we're doing an episode right now. You just got to swing up to the house, when you get some free time one evening, we'll just chill out and just talk. You know what I'm saying? We can talk about all this shit.
Yeah,
Levelers,
absolutely.
thanks for sharing. Remember, you can always send us your thoughts and stories on our website or social. We love hearing from you. Paul, before we wrap up, any final thoughts on the connection between cannabis and music?
It's such a creative tool, and I'm also interested in finding out what's in the future. We've seen it through different ages and into the modern era, and it's a bit of a stylistic difference, I think, through the decades and through the genres. I'm anxious to see what's next.
Well said, bro. It's been a great discussion. I think it's clear, like you said, cannabis and music, they have this special relationship. And, from influencing genres to enhancing creativity and even improving listeners' experiences, it has played a pivotal role in shaping the musical landscape. And it's fascinating to see how these two worlds have intersected and where they're going in the future and what other genres may come up just from the use of this. We're seeing it, like you say, a lot of stuff that we don't like right now. I say we as in like my age groups. I don't like this mumble rap stuff like Tekashi 6ix9ine, all this stuff, but that's the genre. And if that's that group's age and they're connecting with that, I know he's a cannabis, they do it. So, it connects with people, whether we like it or not, there's always a connection there. So I think it's going to continue, as cannabis continues to gain mainstream acceptance across the US, across the world, it'll be exciting to see how its relationship with music, like you said, evolves and inspires new generations of artists, genres. And remember, whether you're jamming out to your favorite tunes or crafting your own musical masterpieces, always strive to find that perfect harmony between your creative passions and your overall well-being. There's a lot of artists. I'm just going to end it with this. There's a lot of artists out there we've lost to depression, to everything that could have been true legends. They still are legends, but they could have really became more. So always keep that in mind. We hope you levelers enjoyed this episode as much as we did. We've explored how cannabis has influenced various genres, inspired creativity, shaped our culture, where it's going in the future. Don't forget to check out our website, highlevelchronicles.com. Follow us on social media at HLC Podcast 420. We'd love your feedback and suggestions for all the future episodes. And if you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to subscribe, rate, leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. That really helps us out and keeps Leveled Up vibes flowing strong. You know what I'm saying? So that's a wrap for today's episode of High Level Chronicles. Remember, stay leveled up. We are out.
Thanks for listening to High Level Chronicles. See you next time.
Thank you again for listening to High Level Chronicles. Please help us grow by leaving us a review wherever you listen to us at, whether it's Spotify, iTunes, Alexa. Your reviews will help our show grow and help us reach a broader audience. Also, we are always looking for new show sponsors, so please reach out if you're interested. You can hit us on our social media or email us info@highlevelchronicles.com. Thanks again for listening.